Welcome back, everybody. My name is Rachel, and this is my book club. What? Put two and two together. They're the same. Go off, be happy, love your one man. Today, we're going to be talking about Divine Rivals and, of course, the sequel, Ruthless Vows. Let's talk about it. I hope you're all as excited as I am. And so we're going to be talking about both of these books because I read this one just before this one came out, read them both in the same couple weeks, so I'm really excited. So Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows are the two books that make up the duology for the Letters of Enchantment series. And this series is about a war that's waging between two gods. Our two main characters get involved in the war together, and they're writing letters back and forth to each other through their magical typewriters, and we get to see how their love blossoms amongst this war that's going on. And as we go through these couple books together, we answer the question, will their love end the war or break the world? Divine Rivals won the Goodreads Award for Young Adult Book of the Year. And so when I saw that that was in the running initially before the results came out, I knew I had to read it. I had heard about it and I was always really iffy on reading it. I don't know if it's more steampunky or kind of noir kind of style writing. You know, we have a lot of kind of industrial era themes going on between the newspapers, the typewriters, big factories, mixed in with the mood of like rainy days and, you know, her dark academia style. Books that kind of have this tone and setting I'm usually kind of iffy on because they're not always written very well. I find that it's hard to mix technology and industry with magic and fantasy. They kind of tend to butt heads a lot, especially with writers who maybe aren't experienced or who have never written that genre before. So I tend to stray away from it because sometimes it just isn't as satisfying to read as other genres. But because this book was getting so many raves and so many good reviews, I thought I would give it a try, and it was very worth it. This book is set up as an epistolary. It's a book where much of the story is told through the letters that they write to each other back and forth. So as a summary for this duology, we follow Iris and Roman, who are writing letters to each other through their kind of magical typewriters that are connected to each other. And they follow each other onto the front lines of war through Iris trying to find her brother, Roman standing up to his father. And we learn kind of about this war that's going on before Roman is kidnapped and taken to write essentially propaganda for the other side. And, you know, he's kind of manipulated and brainwashed in the beginning of the second book. And Iris, being the really great heroic character that she is, continues to go after him and find him and try and do what's right in the war while she's trying to find Roman. And we kind of discover that we have this kind of building magic where Dacre's trying to kind of get more magic from the dead gods so he can defeat Enva, and Roman is acting as the mole to try and give this information to Iris as they continue to write letters to each other in the second book. It builds up to this big climax at the end where Iris and Addie are able to kill Dacre in the very last moments with the help of Enva, and Iris and Roman are finally able to be reunited again at the end. All in all, I really loved this book. There was a lot of really good points and kind of writing tools that were used to make this really, really entertaining and really, really romantic. And I am a sucker for love letters, so I really liked reading the letters that they wrote to each other. It was such a great tool for Rebecca to use to kind of convey how they feel about each other and how they write out words, and how she uses like the strikeouts to show that they're rethinking things that they were typing out. And it was really romantic, and I really liked the setting. The tone and the setting was written so well that the imagery I had was so strong between the smell of rain and the fog and her plaid skirt and her dark sweater, their trench coat belted across the waist. It was written really well. Like everything, like image-wise about how it was written fit so well into the setting. Like I could just see the whole everything. Like it all just made so much sense to me. And so I thought these books were written so good, and their whole romance is really, really heartwarming. In this book, they're meant to be what I think it's 18 and 19 years old. You know, they're practically kids, you know what I mean? And it's really, really cute to see. I think, you know, they're kind of crushing on each other. Neither of them wants to admit it. Iris has got stuff going on in her life. Roman doesn't want to acknowledge that he has a crush on her. You know, it's really cute, and I really like it. It's a very pure love. I really like love stories when they're written in a really pure way. You know, it really highlights like the good parts of it. I don't like it as much when there's a lot of arguments in the beginning, you know, the enemies to lovers, where they're like genuinely just not getting along and they just genuinely do not agree with each other. That has its place, but it's overplayed a lot, where they're like truly like not good for each other, but they still end up together, you know, kind of a toxic relationship kind of situation. But here it's more of like they're both competing for the same thing, and they both have a lot of similarities that they admit off the bat, but they have a hard time getting along with each other because they're both in this position where they're going against each other for the promotion. So in that case, because it's an outside force that's kind of helping encourage them to be enemies, right, and to kind of encourage this banter, I think is a lot better than people who genuinely just don't get along and then somehow end up together. So I appreciated that. And so while Roman and Iris are on the front lines together, they're continuing to build this closeness, you know, but also still some spitefulness. It's one of those things where it's like, is it flirting or are you being mean? They're kind of having this like banter, but like kind moments to each other, and then banter, and then they're writing letters to each other. And Roman still hasn't admitted to her who he is, and she still hasn't figured it out yet, because she's so caught up in her own stuff that's going on that she isn't even thinking about it. She even admits to herself she's kind of liking Roman. Then she feels guilt because she's like, oh, but I also like Carver, and it's like, they're the same person. Put two and two together, they're the same. Go off, be happy, love your one man. I can't even describe how happy this letter made me. I would read it to you, but I'm not even going to be able to convey the emotion that it needs to have, okay? But in this letter, he says, I love you, Iris, and I want you to see me. I want you to know me, through the smoke and the firelight and kilometers that once dwelled between us. Do you see me? So Iris finally puts it together, and she realizes it's him. And it's such a romantic letter. I am a sucker for love letters. I am really a love letter kind of gal, which is why I'm surprised I didn't get into this book sooner. And it's really sweet, and I really loved it. And of course, he's in the infirmary when this happens, and so she blasts in and she's like, you stupid, why didn't you tell me? And you know, she's mad because he hid the truth from her, but it's still kind of cute. So, you know, conflicting feelings, because it's happy, but she's mad. So I will say I loved Iris and Roman, especially. All of the characters in this book are painted very, very heroically, which I actually really like for this kind of subgenre. I think it works really well that you have kind of an array of people who are all heroes, but in their own right, where you have Iris, who is looking out for, you know, not only the general greater good, but also the people she loves, like her brother and Roman, and then her friends and Addie. And then you have Addie, who loves music and misses music, and she wants to stick it to the man, and that's why she's the hero. And you have Marisol, who is really caring, and she's very mother-like, and that's why she is doing the right thing. That's what she wants to be a hero for, is to look after these other people and make sure they're safe. And, you know, it kind of goes on and on and on, where each character is a hero and they're doing the right thing, but they each have their own kind of reason to do it and their own way of doing it, which I really like. It makes the characters really, really lovable, but they're still unique. You know, they're not all kind of this monotonous tone of heroes. Like, they all have their own way of showing it, which I really like. And then we've got, what's his name? We have our one character, Shane, in the second book, and he kind of represents more of a, you know, chaotic good / chaotic neutral kind of stance, where he was kind of a representative of the graveyard who wanted nothing to do with either god, you know, to take them both down, you know, I don't care, right? Then you have Dacre, who is the bad of the bad, and we kind of see how he kind of wish-washed his words into propaganda and tried to sell it as a dream. And I think that's really powerful as adults. You know, you just kind of see that all the time, so it's fun to see that played out in this scenario and see how that's written to work with fictional characters. I will say my favorite part of books, especially fantasy, is usually like, you know, the fantastical world building and magic, or the really good characters. And I did like those things, but I think the tone of the book was my favorite part. Kind of like what I mentioned earlier, like the imagery of the book was so vivid, and it fit into this very specific, you know, noir setting so well, where, you know, you see them typing on their typewriters by candlelight, and the the smell of the rain and the thunder outside. And it's always raining in these books. It's always raining, but it fits the setting so well and it makes a lot of sense. The grass was dry and the wind blew over the rolling hills. It's so good. I do not know what Rebecca Ross had to do to understand how to write that so well, but it was so good. Like, I would get so lost in the book just, you know, imagining what everything looked like and kind of walking in Iris's shoes as to kind of what she's experiencing. It was really cool. It was really good. I don't know if I've ever read a book that I have seen so vividly in my head. And I loved that. I loved that so much. All in all, I really love these books. The story was really good. It was an epic, industrial, magical, fantastical book, and a great enemies to lovers, and so heroic. And I loved it so much. And I'm sad it's just a duology because I really would have read more. But also, I think it was the perfect length. I think everything about these books is pretty much just perfect and so enjoyable. So I hope you enjoyed it too. If you guys like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this book. Let me know if there's any similar books like that I should read, because I really like that. And if you guys are following along, our next book that we will be reading in 2 weeks is Raiders of the Lost Heart. I was going to do this video on just this book, but I've recently read this book, In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. And so for my next video in 2 weeks, I am actually going to be talking about both of these books because I have some interesting comparisons to make. This is a short romance book, and this is a sci-fi book that won Goodreads Sci-Fi Book of the Year. 2 very different books, but I would like to talk about them both. So in 2 weeks from now, we'll be doing Raiders of the Lost Heart and In the Lives of Puppets. And for my following video in 4 weeks from now, I will be doing The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is a book I have kind of been keeping an eye on for a while, and I got it for Christmas, so I'm gonna be reading that. Alrighty, thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.
What up, chef? You want some pizza?
Sure.
I got pizza.
Okay. This video's gonna suck.
Why
I
is
have
that?
not said a single thing that's made any sense.
How do I know? I don't know what
It's
happened.
really bad. I have no idea how I'm gonna edit this.